And welcome to episode 60.
What? Get out of here with
BoarderLine. I know. How about that?
60. Wow.
Every once in a while, because to sign on to our streaming platform, you have to type in a title, and so I always put what episode number it is. And sometimes it hits me when I type it, sometimes not.
Yeah.
But obviously today, when I typed in episode 60,
that's crazy, man.
I mean, I started thinking about it in the shower, because that's the only bad thing about doing these shows is that it makes me have to shower.
Right? Got to clean up a little bit.
Yeah. Right, just a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
If it was just an audio podcast, it'd be way better. Better.
By the way,
I literally would be in a hat and just shorts and a tank top.
The beauty of being bald is you don't know if I've showered or not. No, I don't have bed head. You know what I mean? I could be like 3 days without a shower. It wouldn't look any different.
Oh my God. You will never have bedhead again in your life. That's fantastic.
It really is. I got to tell you, I don't talk about it much because I've been alive longer without hair than with hair, which is kind of crazy now.
Really?
Yeah. I started losing my hair 26, 27, and I'm 52, be 53 this year. So about the same. It's crazy.
Yeah, sure enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So just, I kind of miss the hair every now and then. Like because I had just straight thin hair, right? So I would have these crazy bedheads, just like, that would stand straight up. Like just.
And you probably went to school and just owned it.
No, I believe it or not, I'm a pretty clean person. I would never go out in public without showering when I was younger. Isn't that crazy?
I figured you'd be that guy with the messy hair just going out and saying, yeah, what?
Nah, man. I was I'd throw a hat on if it was one of those days. But yeah, I was always shower guy, believe it or not.
Did you spend a lot of time in high school getting ready for school? I did. I like looking back on it now, I remember, I think you and I have talked about this before. Do you remember when we rolled up our jeans?
That was towards the end of high school. Yeah.
Like late 80s. Like literally we rolled up our jeans. Like I remember doing that. I remember showering, and I remember picking out like a nice clean shirt and trying to figure out, what looked good with what jeans or pants.
Oh, sure.
But then I specifically remember rolling my jeans. Like I can't believe we did that.
Yeah. We called it pegging your pants, actually. We called it pegging. And we peg. I didn't wear a lot of jeans, and I went to a private school that didn't really allow a lot of crazy dress. Like you couldn't, like there was jeans Monday. You couldn't wear jeans all week.
Yeah, so I love that.
You had to wear khakis, which is probably why I had an affinity for khakis, right? Because I had to wear them all the time. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I would say I took some time. I'm sure there were plenty of dudes that could have cared less, threw on whatever they had and just rolled with it. But I was.
Was Stacy that kind of guy in high school? Did he did he clean himself up?
Yeah.
Were you guys pretty boys?
I mean, I think all of us were for the most part. I mean, once again, at the private school that we went, at the private school we went to, they weren't having you just show up all. They weren't with that. You couldn't just show up all just grungy looking. Couldn't do it. They'd send you home. So.
See, I kind of like the dress code. Like looking back on it now that my kids are I was about ready to graduate from high school, but. So it's not a big deal now because she's comfortable with herself and owns who she is. But, back when they were basically K through, I don't know, at least middle school and maybe midway through high school, I would love if we had gone to, there's a really popular Catholic school in town, Bishop England.
Oh, I remember Bishop England.
Yeah, and then there's a couple of private schools downtown also. Now, we never had the money to do something like that, but they all had dress codes. Every day they wear the same thing. Which honestly, I mean, and I don't want to get into
we didn't have that. We didn't have that. I mean, you could.
I think. I mean, the experiences that I had with my kids, I would rather have had that because, again, I don't want to get into a deep dark place here to start the show. But my son, because he wasn't wearing the right Nikes, and I never knew this.
For sure.
Because he wasn't wearing Nike Rochers, back in middle school, because I couldn't afford to buy him Rochers. I told him I'll buy you Nikes, but I'm not buying you custom colored made Rochers.
Right.
Like I don't have $220 to buy Rochers.
Right.
And I didn't realize that he was bullied mercilessly back in middle school, and he didn't tell me until years later. But looking back on it, it would have been much easier just to have a uniform that they wore, and that way everyone's wearing the same damn thing, and no one can bully you if you're not wearing Nike Rochers.
I remember when I transferred in 8th grade that I wasn't wearing some of the brands that were cool, and yeah, that changed in a hurry.
Yeah.
Because they let you know if you were wearing the wrong stuff for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, and it's even worse for girls than it is for guys.
Oh, tons worse.
Yeah, I felt bad for
Tons
Noelle.
worse.
I mean, for all those years. Again, if she had to wear the same thing every day, fine, sign me up for that. I don't care. That's great.
I'm with you on that.
Sarah has to wear the same thing as Lily, has to wear the same thing as Noelle and Julie, and they all would have to wear exactly the same.
I'm with you on that because it's like even with private schools, I mean, not all the kids there come from money. Some of them are there on academic scholarships. Some of them are there on athletic scholarships. So they don't have those brands. They don't have the ability to wear that stuff. And it. Everyone lets you know that you're wearing the wrong stuff at a school like that. So I'm kind of with you on the uniform stuff. I mean, and look, kids that have style can make a uniform stylish if they want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They can find ways to trick it out. So
yeah. And it's good too. These private schools, they'll have days where you can just,
wear whatever.
Yeah. It's like spirit days, I think is what they're called.
Right.
So
yeah, man.
Anyway. Speaking of looks and in this case, insecurities, we are doing the show late at night. I feel like I should have like a bourbon and a cigar.
Yeah, well, I've got my sun. I kept the sun right outside there. I
look like it's nighttime. Like this is all I could do. Like the light from my computer screen and this lamp over here. You actually have. It looks like I'm doing the show like downtown, New York City in the middle of winter, and it looks like you're in L.A.
Yeah, man. This ring light's working pretty well for me, and I actually turned it down. It was really bright when we just came on before we came on air. So yeah, it's a $35 ring light, man. Plugs right into your computer.
It's 2023. Am I the last person to do a podcast without a ring light? Probably
I think so.
Yeah.
If I'm one up in you on the technology department, that's bad.
Yeah, it's not good. Speaking of technology, we have two guests today. This is going to be an awesome show. And unfortunately, this is again going to be another example. Maybe we need to like lobby where sometimes we have 1 hour, like most of the time, Borderline's 1 hour.
Ooh, special.
Or maybe sometimes we just do like a 2 hour special because I feel like with Anthony last week, Anthony was, for anyone who saw, for those of you who didn't watch last week, I'm not just saying this because it's our show. Yeah. Anthony Ione is an incredible story.
Absolutely.
Of perseverance and of hard work, dedication. He is an outstanding person. I mean, we all know him for all of his cornhole shit, which is fantastic. But he is truly a great man. I mean, truly a great man.
100%.
So I mean, we could have gone 2 hours easy. Same thing with these guys that we're going to have on today. And we'll get to it here in just a minute. But just
by the way, can we send a shout out to our fearless leader, Trey Ryder, by the way?
Yeah, you told me he's not feeling good, huh?
Yeah, got a little COVID. Finally got to him. He called me because one of the reasons I'm here in Charlotte is to be in the office because we were going to discuss some things that we were going to do, and he's not. Now we're going to have to do it virtually, blah blah blah, and that's neither here nor there. But I'm kind of known as the person that gets sick way too much within the ACL, and it's just kind of funny to have Trey be the one that's under the weather. So
well, and like you said, one of the interesting things is that this is the first time he's gotten it. I mean, because really, he and Kathy are the only two people I think in my world anyway that I know that haven't had it yet. My parents have had it. Actually, you know what? My brother might not have had it. But most everyone I think in my family has had it. And most of my friends have had it.
I don't know if Stacy's had it, but everyone else I know, I'm pretty sure has had it at least once.
Stacy hasn't had it, has he?
I don't know but he may have and just didn't go to the doctor. He's kind of one of those tough it out kind of guys. So I don't know.
Yeah, see, I wanted to know. When I was sick, I wanted to know, all right, do I have it? So I was kind of the opposed. I wanted to know.
And that, I see my mom and her husband Mike on a pretty regular basis.
Oh yeah.
And and I've probably come up here a couple of times not feeling too well when I shouldn't have. And so I've always wanted to know if I've got it or something like that before I come up here.
Right.
They're advanced in age.
Well, yeah. So hopefully, going back to your point, yeah. So
big shout. Feel better.
Yeah. Hopefully, Trey will feel better. Oh, by the way, on a sad note, also shout out and our literally thoughts and prayers with Ryan Wiedenfeld and his family. Tragic story with Ryan losing his father. Just in the last week, right?
Yeah, it's week and a half. Yeah, I mean, that's just awful. Awful.
And Ryan's
awful.
supposed to play at the shootout with Ryan Smith, right?
Yep.
In Arizona.
Yep.
So, and
Yeah,
his dad sounds like I haven't had a chance to meet and speak too much to Ryan Wiedenfeld, but it sounds like his dad was a big part of his.
Yeah, kind of omnipresent with his cornhole career, you know?
Yeah.
So that's awful, just awful.
Yeah. So our prayers and thoughts out with he and his family, and hopefully he can make it to Arizona. But if he can't, obviously we all understand. So,
absolutely.
Well, hey, speaking of great guys, before we get to our guests, one more note on Anthony. So Kathy and I went and had a great opportunity to see Damon West speak live at our real estate company. And for those who don't know Damon West, if you've ever read the book The Coffee Bean, it's a great read. And Damon West is an incredible story. And Anthony reminds me of him. I mean, what Damon has overcome. Now, Damon was a flat out criminal. Anthony is not. But the fact that the two of them have lived completely polar opposite lifestyles, there is some kind of symbiotic nature there between the two of them. But the Coffee Bean, it's about, there's life is basically a kettle of boiling water, which we all know. And there's lots of trials and tribulations and tough moments. And you can either be an egg and it can make you hard on the inside, or it can make you a carrot and it can make you soft and fearful and scared, or you can be the coffee bean. When you stick a coffee bean in boiling water, nothing happens to the coffee bean. It changes its environment. It makes the water brown. You don't change it. It changes you. Anyway, it's a great book. It's an easy read. He now has a couple of follow-up stories, but basically, to make a long story short, this dude was a hardcore criminal in the streets of Dallas, selling drugs, breaking into houses. And he went to prison and totally changed his life, and nearly lost his life a couple times in prison. But he was the coffee bean in prison. He met this old guy and he said, listen, you can either be an egg, you can be a carrot, or you can be a coffee bean. Well, it just about killed him to be the coffee bean in prison, but he survived. His story got out there. He ended up being paroled, and now he's literally changing people's lives across the nation. And I know that that's an extreme story, but damn it, Bernie, when we were talking to Anthony last week, I'm like, dude's a coffee bean. Yeah. Anthony is a coffee bean. I mean, this guy speaks to Clemson. He speaks to Alabama. He speaks to all the huge football programs to inspire their athletes. And Anthony is a similar story, again, not on the criminal side, but a story of perseverance and dedication and hard work and overcoming. I mean, he lived in the hood basically. And like he said, I mean, there are people doing drugs and crack all around him, but Anthony survived, and he's a better person for it. I mean, he could be one of those guys. I mean, he could be an inspirational speaker.
You know what? One of the things when Anthony was kind of going through some of that with us, and just knowing Anthony the way that I do and the way that you do, like, I think sometimes, and this is going to sound weird, that when you're in those circumstances, and kind of going back to your coffee bean story, when you decide, I'm going to help my mom and I'm going to help raise my brothers and sisters, you have zero time, right? You then have zero time to wallow in self-pity. You have zero time to get in trouble. You literally don't have time for anything because Anthony said, talked about how well he was doing in school. So he's doing school, he's raising his brothers and sisters, he's helping as much as he can around the house. I mean, there's only so much time in the day when you're awake, right? So it's almost as if he filled all of it, because I know from personal experience that when you've got time, you can wallow. You've got all this time, right, to sit there and just, bash your head in, with all the thoughts that are going through your brain. You've got all this time to think about it, and that's such a bad thing. And I remember, I thought that I was thinking about this when Anthony, like, I've been to therapy, and I remember a therapist telling me one time, like, you need 20 jobs. This is when I was in high school. You need to be playing sports. You need jobs. You don't need any alone time. Yeah. You need zero time alone to think. And I was like, whatever. But I mean, looking back on it, 100% true.
Yeah, I agree with you.
If you can keep your mind occupied, it's not going to, try to tear you down from the inside out. So that's one of the things I was thinking about as Anthony was going through that, was like, I think if people could just kind of follow that, what he's going through, like, he's too busy, I don't know. And I'm talking to myself more than I'm talking to other people right now. Find a hobby, find something to keep your mind occupied. If you feel like you're sliding down a path, I guess that's my words of wisdom for the day. That's it. That's all I got.
No, I think that's very, very true. I mean, I'm thinking back onto my childhood and my kids and my family. And yeah, I mean, you'd rather have to pull the reins back, right, on your
Right.
kids from doing too much and biting off more they can chew. And I mean, my parents had me in everything to where my mom thought I was burning the candle at both ends, we talked about all the time. But yeah, you'd rather that than having all that time on your hands and too much free time. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to dive into this?
Let's do it. Let's bring them on.
All right. Speaking of time management, I don't know how the hell these guys do it. So I'm just instead of surprising anyone, I'm just going to get right to it. So we are being joined today by Rich Chamness and Graham Williams, and they are the owners of BG Cornhole. And whether or not you are into cornhole or you are not into cornhole, you've got to hear these guys' stories. These guys are brilliant guys, well educated. And they are incredible entrepreneurs who have taken a chance in this crazy sport of cornhole. And it's paid off for them. I mean, BG Cornhole, for those of you who are watching, I know a lot of you, aren't totally invested in the sport like we are. BG Cornhole, all of a sudden, BG bags have become one of the most popular bags. I don't know where the ranking of popularity of bags goes, but BG is right up there. You cannot go to a tournament without seeing these bags all over the place. So let's start. So first off, so the only bad thing about this, Bernie, is that when they both sent us some bullet points on their careers, I'm like, holy shit, what the hell have I been doing with
right?
Them?
Right. I was sitting there looking at it going like, if you look at my resume, it looks like really bad graffiti.
Yeah.
Like Bernie was here and that's all that would be there. And then I'm reading their like pages and pages of information.
Right. Yeah. And I was a minor league baseball broadcaster. Like that's it. Like, and here I am.
Yeah.
All right. So Rich Chamness, he's from a small town in Northeast Ohio. Kathy is the only person who I know in my life who knows where this is because she's from Boardman, but he's from Rootstown, Ohio. But Rich served, on top of everything else that we're going to talk about, he served in the Army for 16 years, had 2 deployments to Iraq in 2010 and 11, graduated from Kent State with a Bachelor of Radiological Sciences, which I can barely even say, got his MBA years later. Big time entrepreneur. A funny story. He actually had a startup based company around wearable tech. But Bernie, this goes back before that was even a term.
I know.
And in his email, he said, I wish I could go back to that era with what he knows now. But so he was doing wearable tech before we even knew what that was. But then his career took off in radiology. He worked as a CT and X-ray and clinical management for a while. Then got into capital sales, basically medical sales. And he 5 years ago with Siemens and currently works for Siemens in Houston, covering 2 of their largest global accounts. He also owns another business in Pennsylvania. But Rich and Graham Williams took over BG at the very end of 2019, basically just taking kind of a chance on this company. And again, it's been an amazing story. So that's Rich. Then Graham, who was born in Houston, Texas, grew up playing sports, so big-time sports guy, all-state soccer player in high school. Got burned out like many of us do in high school, so he did not play in college, but went to Texas A&M, studied industrial distribution, which is kind of a fancy name for a hybrid career or a major in engineering and business. I don't know what it is, Bernie, about engineers in the sport of cornhole.
They love it. They absolutely love it, right?
Yeah. So his background in engineering, after graduating, he started as an engineer actually in oil and gas, and then moved into outside sales, and still does sales, calling on refineries, chemical plants. But he treats his territory like it's his own business. So again, very entrepreneurial based mind, and really just kind of had that dream, like many of us, that didn't want to work for somebody else. He wanted to own his own company. I mean, that was always the ultimate goal. And he in his email to us, he said he's super competitive. And all of a sudden they found cornhole, and like so many of us, Bernie, they got addicted to it. So, and it became their life. And with these guys, instead of just continuing to play in their backyard, they decided to take it one step further and buy a bag manufacturing company. So without further ado, I've spoken way too much. Let's get to the owners of BG Cornhole, Rich Chamness and Graham Williams. Welcome, guys.
Hey, what's up,
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having us.
I didn't know if we were actually going to come on, or if y'all were just going to do like a.
I mean, there was so much information. I think he only read like 15% of it.
I think you're right.
Our emails were too long.
Yeah. I mean, Graham Graham, yours was a little bit abbreviated, and Rich, yours was in bullet points, and I just kept reading, and I'm like I don't know what to edit out of this. Like you've done so much, but you're right, Bernie. I mean, I read maybe a third of it.
Yeah.
So, but hey, guys, thank you so much for making this work. I know you guys are super busy.
Yeah.
And Graham, I know you were on when we were talking about Anthony Ione and his story. Rich, I'm not sure if you heard it. We were talking about the book, The Coffee Bean, and Damon West. I don't know if you guys ever heard that story.
Oh, I caught the tail end. I was wondering who you were talking about. I heard you say Anthony. I wasn't actually sure, so I need to go back and listen because that sounded really interesting.
Yeah, Anthony's a great story. And if you ever get a chance to read the book, The Coffee Bean, by Damon West, it's great stuff. You guys especially would really enjoy his story. But all right, so Rich, all right, let's just get right to the most obvious question. So, I mean, with your and Graham's background, right? So diverse between what you guys were doing, nothing to do with cornhole whatsoever, right? Why? How did this start, and how did you get here? You were in the Army. You know, you've been in sales, in medical sales. Why cornhole all of a sudden?
Man, that's a great question. Yeah, I think it all really started when me and Graham, fun fact, we actually invented cornhole.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. But a good fact is he actually lives across the street from me. So we're probably only like 50 meters away from each other, sitting in different rooms. But when I had moved here to Houston, we were just trying to figure out something to do with my life. And my wife was telling me to get a life, I guess. So I saw that they had a cornhole league, and I had just met Graham, and I asked him to be my cornhole partner. Down on one knee and everything. Is super romantic. And we just started kind of playing, and we really didn't know too much about each other at that point. And that kind of like brought us into a friendship. And during that, we started talking about, how we could, I guess, get into other, revenue streams, and just different type of work to just do better for ourselves. And so we were looking at like a couple like restaurant type concepts, some potential like investment properties. And then we actually decided on cornhole because our favorite brand at the time was BG, obviously. And then we had seen a lot of just craziness going around with the brand. I'm not sure.
Rich's favorite brand. I never got any.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess a lot of people don't know is everyone always thinks that we started the business. We actually acquired the business back in 2018. BG was arguably one of the biggest, most well-known companies. And then just had just a couple ill-timed mistakes, and then kind of imploded on itself. And during that time, we both I had ordered boards and bags, and then I told Graham, hey, you should order some bags and boards. They're great. Well, we were part of the people who didn't ever get them. So we were some of those frustrated, customers. And then during that time, as we're like trying to, get our equipment that we had ordered, we had seen just a lot of minutia and just craziness on social media. So at that time, what we noticed was everyone would be blasting the company, and then they'd say, oh, but by the way, this really sucks because the company, the product's awesome, the bags were awesome, the designs were awesome. So then we were like, this is interesting, maybe if it has a new face, just because, the prior owner, you don't know what you don't know. And us coming from, business backgrounds and, scaling businesses, we thought that we could, I guess, revive the brand. So we shot an email over to him just on a whim, and he actually responded. And then, a couple of weeks later, we owned it, which was super cool. We did no research at all, had no idea what we were getting into. We just thought it'd be cool to go across the street and make some cool bags for our friends. And here we are. Wow.
Well, that's kind of crazy, because it brings me into a question I really wanted to ask you guys, since I knew you were coming on, and you're kind of led me into it. So you knew, like, for some of the younger people that watch and that play the sport, I don't even know if they're aware that what BG was, say 2018, right before you guys got it. I mean, perception is 9/10 of reality most of the time, and the perception out there wasn't that great. Like you said, people love the bags, they love the boards, but they weren't sure what they were going to get otherwise, right? Mm-hmm. That's such a risk. And you guys are both such, very intelligent guys. You come from strong business backgrounds. You kind of already answered the question. Was it ever a thought, like, should we be doing this with this brand? Even if we do everything right, will people give us a break and let our actions speak for themselves, instead of still considering what the brand was a year ago? Did that ever even come up? Or were you just like, you know what, we're going to take it each step as they come, and we're going to repair this brand?
Yeah, we did take a lot of heat when we when we first took over. We started with just kind of resetting on social media, letting people know just new ownership, new management, that type of thing. And people literally laughed at us, blasted us, told us we were idiots, told us change the brand name, it's dead, you guys are stupid, blah 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 blah. And we continually push the guys, like, no one's gonna give no brand, whoever company a chance. But if you did at some point like the brand BG, maybe you'd be more willing to take the chance. So it's a risk on our side, of course. But we felt strongly that we could revive it with the right move. So I don't know, Graham, if you had any.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say you guys definitely have done that. By the way, real quick, just to go back, Rich, I mean, your wife must be a 4-star general if she's telling you to get off the couch and get a life with everything that you put in those bullet points. What you've been doing? she must.
We act like that on a daily basis. That's for sure.
She's driving you hard back there. Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. So, all right. So, Graham, do you guys remember? Like, can you take us back? Do you remember the first conversations? Like, whose idea was it? Like, who said to the other, "Hey, what if we buy a cornhole company?" Like, do you remember these early conversations?
Yeah, so definitely Rich has always been and still is like way more dialed in on Facebook. So he kind of, I knew that I was a frustrated customer, right? Like, I had ordered boards and bags, never had boards and bags before. So I was obviously pretty excited. I mean, I go back and look at my messenger at that time, like multiple support emails to BG, like, hey, when are these going to show up? If it's not here, soon, can I please cancel my order? Blah, blah, blah. But Rich was more dialed into like the Facebook scene at that point in time. And there were literally pages devoted to it was boycott BG. That was a big one.
Literally.
And yeah. So we're just reading through this. And I mean, basically at that point, yeah, Rich kind of passed that along to me, shared. So then I kind of checked it out and we're like, what the hell? Like, what does it hurt to just reach out and see what happens? So we kind of reached out. I'd say we kind of knew what we were getting into whenever it all got finalized, but as we did, probably like a month or so in, because basically what we did was we knew that there was a huge backlog that we were going to have to climb out of. I think shop at that time had somehow disappeared. So we didn't really even necessarily know like how deep that backlog went. So, we have kind of a list like, hey, here's the orders that we think we have to fulfill. We think this will take this much time. And then as we start fulfilling those, people just like start coming out of the woodworks like, hey, well, I was owed a set of boards. I was owed 2 sets of bags. And we're like, just kind of literally people could have made up anything. And we don't even know. So we're like, dude, this might have been, we're like, oh shit, man. Like, cause initially we're like, it's for the risk reward. Like it was there, right? Cause we were looking at other businesses, but none of them were necessarily things we wanted to do. So then when we saw the opportunity to, get into cornhole, we're like, well, this will actually be fun, even if it, isn't necessarily financially rewarding. But yeah, then there definitely did come a time where we're like, man, we might have bit off more we can chew. It was getting pretty stressful. We were having to put, more money into, filling this backlog before we could, because we didn't feel right taking any orders until we, made everyone whole. I forget how long that took. I want to say it took like 3 months or
3
something.
months, I think. Yeah.
So at that point, we're just, you know, kind of burning money and sanity, and we're like,
maybe it was a bad
actually
idea.
kind of worked out.
Well, and Graham, on top of all that, and then COVID hits, right? I mean, so, because the timing of this is 2019, right? When you guys took on this venture.
We thought that was the nail in the coffin. We were like, yeah, well, this was a fun, quick little ride. Yeah, because it was literally end of December 2019. So, you know, 3 months later, we were like, yeah, well, that was a fun little ride of just giving people a bunch of free stuff. I guess we're done. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it was pretty wild though. During COVID, I guess the silver lining was, well, first of all, that's when it started getting on TV, right? So all of a sudden, Cornhole's being broadcast on ESPN. No other sports are playing. People are stuck at home with nothing to do, so they're buying boards and bags to play at home. Ghost Cornhole started. People are like playing against each other via the internet. I mean, people got pretty resourceful, and luckily, I mean, the business grew through COVID. Thank goodness.
Hey, real quick, one more question on that, Rich. I mean, do you remember a moment where I'm sure you guys were fearful, and I'm sure you were wondering where's the future of this going? Do you remember like the lowest point, and all of a sudden, do you remember where it turned?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it was about 3 months in when Graham mentioned, like, literally just people just kept, it just never ended. I mean, it would be like we'd have this list, we work through the list, and then all of a sudden 10 people would be like, oh, I have boards, bags. And we were like, what is happening? And it just kept going and going and going. And then COVID hits. And we literally were like at, I'd say March timeframe, probably, give or take. We're like, dude, what, why? Like, what are we doing? Like, this isn't healthy for our sanity at this point. I think that was like, I'd say the lowest and that I can recall.
And then all of a sudden, did the orders just start coming in and just changed everything? And then all of a sudden, you guys are just like, wow, yeah, like we're onto something now. Let's go.
I think we slowly, this is crazy. Yeah. I mean, actually, when we were running ROIs and trying to figure out if it was even justifiable to even give this a shot, our goal was actually 40 sets a week. Like, that's where we're like, dude, we could freaking kill it if we get 40 sets a week. Dude, yeah, like, let's go. And now we're like, oh my God. But that was like the goal. And then as we kind of slowly got to that point, I mean, that's how far this was and how deep we were spiraling at that time. We would just get more and more people online, social media, like, hey, like, these guys are legit. They're really trying. Like, I mean, we totally shut down orders because we felt it was that important to reset. And I think once people realized that we were not taking on any more orders, we were literally shelling out our own, money just for months at that point. I think that it helped get us, some clout, I guess. And then as people slowly started trusting us, we started selling more and more. And then I think we had like a 50 set limited release at some point, which is even crazier. When we were like, okay, and we did it, we sold out. It took, I don't know, like a day and a half or something probably. And we were like, this is so awesome. Like,
we're like texting each other, like blowing up, like, dude, can you believe this? This is going crazy.
Well, how many sets a week do you guys sell now?
I don't know. I mean, hundreds and hundreds for sure.
Oh my gosh,
that's
amazing. You were hoping for 40 and thinking that 40 was going to be crazy, and now you can't even count how many you get.
Yeah.
But did you know? Did you know? Like because your bags were known to be good, right? Like that was an open secret in the game. The bags were great. You just, like we already talked about, beat a dead horse. But was that the reason why you stuck with it? Like, everyone knows the product's good if we can just get over this hump. Once we get over this hump, we're good. Like, did you feel that? Was that a part of your mindset the whole time?
Yeah, well, yeah, like Rich kind of alluded to earlier, that was kind of the whole underlying theme of, what we were reading online and what made in our minds, this to be a good decision, because everything we were reading was really directed and not towards, not to bring him back down memory lane, but everything was really based on customer service and execution and operation and, like overall kind of operational strategy. Those were the problems in customer service. Everyone loved the bags. So everyone wanted the bags. People were trying to get the bags and they couldn't get them. So we knew that the quality was there. The designs were there. There were a lot of really good things going for the company. It basically just Cornhole started blowing up. It kind of got overwhelming and, it was just kind of a hard thing to dig out of. So then, whenever we came in, we basically just had a whole different mindset and strategy on how we were going to do things, just in terms of like controlling demand. And, like something we did early on was, hey, we're not going to sell bags unless we have them in stock. Like, we're not going to oversell just because people want them and we see like an easy opportunity to grab more money. Like, we're not going to do that. If we don't have it in stock, we're not going to ship it, or, we're not going to sell it. And that was really big for us too, because no one was really doing that at the time. There's probably a couple that were, but for the most part, like Rich mentioned earlier, when we first started playing, we were throwing BG, but at that time the craze was game changers. We were like, dude, how do we get game changers? Because everyone was flipping us with them. So we're like, it's these bags. It has nothing to do with us. Like, these bags will make us invincible. So we scoured the internet trying to find game changers.
That is totally true.
But, they were whatever 4 or 5, 6 weeks out or something, because they were selling so many and they had the demand. But they obviously, had a well-established business and know what they're doing production-wise. So it was a little bit different. They could still meet, time frames. But we're like, dude, we don't have the bandwidth to handle that. We need to like know that if someone places an order, we can quickly get them the bags and deliver and kind of not do what had happened to them in the past.
So Graham, did you guys even know what BG stood for? Does anyone know now?
No.
Well, it's different now. But yeah, initially it stood for Buckeye Game Boards. So it's founded in Ohio, big Buckeye fan. But yeah, so now it's kind of informally become Bag Gods. Like,
oh yeah, there you go.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so we kept the name obviously because, like Rich mentioned, some people were saying, yeah, y'all are crazy, you should change the name. But we bought it because of what you mentioned, Bernie. Like, it was a well-established brand that had a lot of brand presence, even though it had a bunch of bad PR at the time. But we had a big following that we didn't want to just erase and start over. There would have been no point to, buy BG if we were going to do that. So
right.
Let me change gears real quick. We've done this with other bag manufacturers we've had on here, because one of the things that Jeff and I have talked a lot about is strategy, how bag manufacturers approach which professionals to go after, how many. Do you go after just a small number of top players? Do you extend it out, into a much deeper pool? At what point did you start targeting players? Did you give yourself a year, couple of years, like, all right, let's get everything back up running. Let's get the reputation back where it needs to be. Now let's go get these kids, right? Like, now let's go start targeting players. Or was it just more organic than that? It's like, hey, we need to start doing this because everyone's doing it. How did that work for you guys?
Yeah, I guess I could go first from the initial. Yeah, great question. First off, when we acquired BG, like, we didn't even know that there was like pro players like as part of BG. I mean, that's how much market research we did from that standpoint. But like Eric Anderson was, definitely there from the get-go and always has been. So he definitely relied on him for a lot of this stuff. And I think out the gates, while we were trying to figure out like a strategy on players, we actually went on a strategy of how to revive the brand first off. So that's where we started. And in that, we were, where do we go in the market? And at the time there was, 1,000 fast bags. Everyone was about the fast bag craze. And there was, elephant in the room. There's one giant with a slow bag. And we realized at that time that, a lot of the top pros were throwing slower bags and, flopping, cutting, curving. And the business strategically, we were thinking Do we go and just blend in with 50 different 1,000 vendors doing fast bags, and hopefully we get 5% or, you know, whatever, even 50% of that, versus we could go head to head with a giant. And if we get 5% market share, hey, it's still a win for us. So we went that direction. While we saw everyone else was going one way, we went the opposite way. And I think we caught to be honest, I mean, we caught the whole market off guard. I think we could definitely, you know, say that at this point. And during that process, while we're like, hey, let's do this, we're in Texas, you know, and we ended up running into the 979. So it's like, Eddie Grindersleeve and Josh Gross, AJ Sims, Caleb Batson, and dude, I mean, they're fire. I mean, they could literally cut, flop, you know, curve. Like, it was the craziest thing. And we have never seen that. I mean, we're freaking Sienna Plantation, like Cornhole League, just trying to get it across the board. And we were just blown away. And that was like the pivotal moment for us on, you know, at least a player standpoint, was, you know, we wanted to get the bags that we felt would give the best outlook on what the product was in those people's hands. And at that time, and they were local to us, they were, you know, the ones that we went after. Since then, you know, we still target like a more, I think, a younger kind of, you'll see like we have like a younger group generation throwing the bags. They're all about the flopping, cutting, curving. And then, you know, from a number standpoint, you know, we like to reward loyal people, you know, that have always thrown our bags, you know, have always been there for us since day one. So, you know, it's as they turn pro, we do everything we can to, you know, try to reward them with, you know, sponsorships. You know, some get offered ones that we can't match, and unfortunately, it is what it is. But I don't know, Graham, you want to?
Yeah, I think just like this, and you were like kind of going into it, but I think so early on we had a very, you know, specific strategy. And then after that point, we kind of got some traction. Then literally since then, it's mostly been organic. So like Rich mentioned, we like to basically, you know, bring people onto the team that already are choosing to rep and throw the brand, you know, just as a personal choice, because we know, you know, these guys have gone up through the ranks throwing BG. A lot of them have qualified for, you know, pro being BG. So we want to bring those guys and keep them, because we already know, like, hey, y'all have been repping the brand, you know, before you even had to. So if we can keep those guys, you know, on the team whenever they go pro or advanced or whatever, we want those guys first and foremost. And I think you'll see, if you look at our team, there might be a couple exceptions, but I mean, 95% are, you know, throwing BG by choice. It's not like we've never really gone up after, you know, whatever. We've never gone after like a top 5 team and just thrown a bunch of money at them to, you know, try to be on the team. We've always made sure that these people are, or that everyone on our team basically meshes well with us. I mean, a lot of it's about character, and then obviously it's about play, but everyone on our team we also get along with really well. We want people that are good teammates. We want them to, you know, represent the company well in public. So, I mean, all that stuff's really important to us.
Hey guys, unfortunately, we are going to run out of time quickly. we literally only have like 5 minutes left, and I know we say this every week, but literally, I would love to spend another hour with you guys. But Graham, while you're speaking on it, and Rich, you know this too. I mean, being business owners, being entrepreneurial. I'm in real estate, so I get it. You have to run your own business, run your own company, and one of the things that they talk about in business all the time is, what is your why? What's your why? Why are you doing something? What's your purpose? What you know? What's your larger goal? What's your larger purpose? And Graham, it almost seems like for you guys that maybe that kind of has shifted and changed. It almost seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but just from hearing you, it almost seems like this became, you know, kind of a capital venture to begin with, a way to make some money and own your own business. But it seems like, Graham, it seems like that's changed. I mean, you guys have really, you know, dived into the emotional side of this game, and now are saying, not only do we want to make money and grow this business, but we're trying to do what's best for the game and what's best for the players and give them what they want.
Yeah, for sure. And I assume Rich will probably say the same thing, but I mean, honestly, it's pretty simple for me. I just want to be able to wake up every day and like do things that I enjoy doing. I mean, it's really as simple as that. You know, you wake up in Cornhole, and I don't know, if somebody asked me how much time we, you know, we're spending on BG, like Rich and I are literally texting all day. We're talking to the shop all day. We're literally strategizing and, you know, coming up with stuff, but it's not like work, you know, it's fun. It's like we're texting about cornhole bags, you know, it's not like really serious stuff. Like, I don't know. So basically, yeah, for me, it's as simple as that. I just want to be able to wake up every day and like actually do things that I enjoy. If they make money, I mean, obviously that's important so that I can, you know, keep a house. but aside from that, I mean, really, yeah, I just want to just enjoy life.
Rich, do you remember that why changing for you? Do you remember this going from, you know, an entrepreneurial, I want to make money type of venture to, hey, this is something bigger than that even?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty well aligned with Graham on, you know, it doesn't feel like work ever. You know, sometimes you get that at, you know, when you're back to back events and stuff like that. But, you know, we wake up, I actually enjoy it, man. It's like not something that I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, here we go again, you know, that type of thing. And then honestly, like the community itself is what kind of I think won us both over is, you know, when we go places, you know, people are just, you know, they're thankful, not just for us, but for everybody else. I mean, you see all these fundraisers and money raised. And, you know, that was part of like the thing that we love to do about it is you'll see us all the time. I mean, we rarely, probably shouldn't put this out there, rarely will turn down, you know, like fundraising opportunities for the community because they've supported us since day one and got us here. And we actually really love that part is being able to kind of give back, you know, and reciprocate. So it's kind of has like a deep emotional, you know, I guess piece there where, you know, a lot of jobs and stuff like that, you just check the boxes and keep moving. But
yeah. All right, real quick, we're going to wrap things up. But and again, I wish we had a lot more time for this because I was hoping to get into this more. But Graham, we'll start with you. The sport has grown so much. We talk about all the time. I mean, COVID just I mean, lit this thing. I mean, it was like a gas fire. The popularity of this sport. Do you, Graham, see that popularity still growing and still continuing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's all. You know, like you mentioned, we both have, you know, day jobs that we keep as well. And I think a big piece of that was kind of as this took off, we're like, I don't know, like, is this sustainable? How much can we trust that this is going to keep going? But as we've seen, I mean, even whenever we started throwing, it was probably sometime in 2019 also. I mean, there were a couple leagues scattered through Houston. You know, we had to drive like 45 minutes an hour. There's probably like 10 to 15 leagues around Houston now. There's tournaments every single weekend. I mean, there's more and more people getting into it. Literally every one of my friends, every person that I know that comes and plays one time, then all of a sudden they want to buy boards and bags. So as far as I can tell, I don't see it slowing down. I hope it doesn't, but there's no signs of slowing down for sure.
Hey, Rich, at the risk of sounding like somebody like a TV host on Fox or CNN, I'll give you the last word. We got like 15 seconds left. I mean, do you continue to see the sport just growing exponentially like it is?
Yeah, we have for a year, you know, thought that it would slow down, and we just keep getting bigger and bigger. And, you know, now that the ACL, I mean, they do a great job in marketing and trying to get global expansions. I mean, I think that's like the next big thing is going to Canada, across seas, you know, you name it. And I think as the younger generation, you know, just gets more and more involved, and everyone's looking at, oh, it's freaking cool to throw these, and these kids just look amazing and awesome, and, you know, that type of thing. I think it only just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and you've got what, 2 kids who just won the Carolina Conference tournament, right?
Yeah.
Jackson, right, and Jacob. I mean, they played great. They came down to the finals, and how old are they? They're teenagers, right?
Yeah, I think they're what?
Barely.
Yeah, they're like 13 or
yeah, right.
Each other. It's crazy.
Rich Chamness, Graham Williams. Hey guys, thank you so much. I know you guys are busy. So glad we could make this work out, and congratulations on all your success. Can't wait to see you guys down the road. Thanks for your time.
Take care, fellas.
You guys, thank you. It's awesome.
All right, great to have those guys on. So glad it worked out. All right, Bernie, 5 seconds, so we got to go.
I'm just glad we finally got him on. It's a great story.
I know. And again, I wish we had more time. It's killing me. It's killing me.
Crazy.
All right. Thanks again to those guys for joining us. More next week. Thanks everybody for watching. See ya.